What is going on YouTube? Another week, another episode. Today I have a really exciting topic for you guys, something I've been struggling with along, and I'm sure a lot of you do as well. That is handling fatigue in triathlon, and I'm gonna today tell you 3 tips about it that over the years of not just triathlon but also special forces, military, studying and all those things, working extensively and training, all the things over the years that work best, and in the end a few tips for you to get out of the mental rut of a little bit of the boredom of endurance sports. And yeah, that's what we're gonna cover today. A little bit of background first. I've had my big share of fatigue, and in general, one thing was several months of special forces training, sleeping 3 to 4 hours a night and then having to perform. That kind of fatigue, that probably took a few years of life away from me doing that, so I wouldn't recommend that. But just in general, I've had to experience quite a bit with it, failed quite a bit, especially also in the business world before, where I was very competitive in the business world, let's say, and really pushed on that front and pushed on the sports front, which of course doesn't work. You have to choose. That's something I only learned very much later, only recently, that you have to choose if you want to get the best out of it. And that's why I also chose to give the best for professional sports. But that's the background. Let's get into the first point. So the first thing you have to realize before we even mention the first point is the body and the mind are not two things. People like to distinguish it and say, hey, yeah, how's your mind? How's your body? It is not two things. It's one thing. So you have to treat it as one. So if you have massive life stress at the moment and there is something going on, you can of course train, and you probably need to for your sanity, but you can't push your training with the highest intensity and whatnot, because your immune system will crumble like mine did in the past. You can keep training and do all your things, but stay in aerobic and don't push the high intensity stuff, because first, mentally you won't be ready for that because you're exhausted, and your immune system is the first to go. Not injury wise, it will take probably a bit longer, but you will get sick, you would get a cold, you will get a flu, something on that front if you push all boundaries at the same. So remember that, very important, body and mind, one thing. Okay, now we come to point number 1, and that is, how do you feel hormonally? What I mean by that, it's always the first that comes before any signs of performance drop in your training, before any injury basically, before any of that. So before that happens, first your hormones gonna be out of whack. So how you can see that is, for example, if you have a period of 3 to 4 days where some of those things happen. First, your mood is completely off the charts bad. So it's either up, down, there's no steady line. Either you're super high, super low within one day 5-6 times, so not a stable mood. Then the next one is over that 3 to 4, because after that 3 to 4 days period you have to react. If you have in a 3 to 4 day period motivation to train, if that is really low, like really low, not just like 1 or 2 days, I can't get going, and then you had a great session, like you're literally dreading it. You would do anything rather than doing any kind of sport, although deep down you know you love sport. If you have that feeling, really dreading, not like, I don't feel like going to a full pool today, and when you swim you feel great, but like 3-4 days, like really, I hate this, like really strong dreading emotions, strong emotions. If you have that 3 days in a row, maximum 4, you have to pull the reins in. You have to cut it. You have to either take a rest day or go way down with intensity, take a super easy day in, have a good night's sleep, because those are the first signs you will get for sure when things get out of balance. Under the first point, mood over time, motivation, and then sleep quality. One thing I, for example, get, and it's very common when you have something like that happening, is night sweats. First of all, get it out of the way. All sports doctors will agree with me. It is not normal if you have excessive sweating in the night. You might be surprised, it is not. Of course, the hot summer night and all, that's a different thing, or if you way too much on, that's a different thing. But if you have night sweats, that is a sign of your body that something's out of whack, and you probably have to back it off a bit. So there can be dehydration in the mix. So just keep an eye on that. What is your sleep quality? Are you waking up all the time? Can't you fall asleep? Are you stuck in this hyper nervous system over those 3-4 days? Your sleep quality and everything with sleep, as you know, it is completely out of whack. That's another sign of those the earliest and best warning signs, which is the feel and the body. Those 3 hormonal things, those will be first, and you have to adjust your training if you want to be the best athlete you can be, because we all know consistency is everything, nothing else matters. So if you push more than those 3-4 days, you will either get sick or something will happen. You can't do the training as you want to. Maybe you can push it even for a month or 2 further, but then you will be so deep in the hole that you will take a month, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months to get out of it, and you boycotted probably your season. Then I come to the second point. I put it on purpose as a second point and not the first. That is metrics. So metrics can be anything from things that you use. It might differ for you. For sure it is probably heart rate. So either it's on a bike or running especially, you will have heart rate. You know when you run easy, for example, in what range is your heart rate. Same with the pace. Hey, you run this flat park run that you always do next to your house. You know the pace that you run when you run easy or aerobic. You know the heart rate when you run. All those things you get a feel for. Same for the swim. You know roughly what kind of splits you're doing per hundreds or 200s if you do intervals. And on the bike you have the watts, those metrics. Those metrics many have, and you can use them. So if those metrics are completely abnormal to what you know normally and more than 3 to 4 days, like really abnormal, like even swim splits, it's a tricky one because a few seconds is abnormal. Let's say you do fast hundreds and do them, I don't know, at 140 pace or whatever it is, and you do them at 140 and suddenly you go just as hard or harder and you do them at 150 and you try again, 150 and again. You know your body is tired, you have to change your session. Same with the bike, look what your watts are doing. If you have your easy watts that you normally start with the session and you already feel your legs are completely, oh my god, I barely can move them, just adjust and see what's going on and use the metrics to see how your body is doing and adjust accordingly. Then a little bit of heart rate is a complicated topic. Yeah, I don't want to go too deep in that. But one thing is, if you're really feeling for a longer time quite bad, your heart rate will actually, some people think it's a sign of fitness. Oh, the heart rate is so nice and low. Even if I do some strides or something quicker, the heart rate doesn't go up anymore. I'm so fit. That is actually a sign of fatigue of your heart and of your system. So if your heart rate is consistently way too low, way too lower, again, goes into the whole thing of the metric point. Is it abnormal? Like if you normally run your easy run at 140 heart rate and suddenly you're stuck at 130, numbers you have never seen, and even when you go a bit quicker and it doesn't want to go up, that's a sign of the first sign of fatigue and overreaching, what they call it as well, the first stage before overtraining, so to say. So just adjust early, then there's no harm done. Probably 2-3 days easy, or maybe less, maybe 2 days easy, and you're back on the boat and you can hit your quality sessions afterwards. But those sessions, the best in the world, do on a weekly scale. I know that a lot of the best, they actually within a week, they change their sessions quite frequently in training, depending how they feel a little bit. They always get after it, always do their best, and they always get the session done, which you can only do if you do it 365 days a year if you go with your body. If you go against your body and mind, as I said, because in 1 year, in one 365-day span, there will be things happening, negative and positive stress. So negative stress, something happened, something terrible happened, I hope not, like a death in the family or something horrible, that is negative stress. But also don't forget, positive stress is also stress. For example, if you change your job and you just got your dream job or something coming up, or I don't know, you're moving the house and you're finally getting into that big flat that you always wanted, although you say, this is amazing, this is great, but it is positive stress, it's a life stress, it's one of the key factors. Or your relationship changes, that's of course more negative stress. But those things are all stress, and your body cannot distinguish if it's positive, negative stress. It gets a stress response, often this fight or flight thing. Now I have to organize this the whole flat, I have to move it. Oh my God, how am I gonna do this? All those things, what I'm trying to say is take them into account. Talk to your coach if you have one. If not, if you have a week of moving coming up, don't pop the highest intensity in there in training. Just be smart, keep ticking over. 1 week means nothing, and the week afterwards, you're back at it to your normal intensity that you want. Then the third point of today, and the last one already, is blood work. What I mean by that is if you have been feeling really for a longer time, especially if you're coming now out of the winter, a lot of us are actually vitamin D deficient. There's a list of 980 things or diseases that you can get from being a deficient in vitamin D, and you need it also for calcium and all that. It's a very important mineral, just one of them. There are many important minerals actually. It's super important that if you feel really bad for a long time, you can't explain it, there's no life stress, you just feel so lethargic and tired and can't get going or whatever it is, it's always good to go to your doc. Have a general health check, of course, check your heart, check your organs. He will know what to do, he's a professional, but also blood work especially, and a bigger blood test, what they call it as well, depending on the country, where you have all the vitamins and maybe hormones in as well. Then you can know what's going on there as well. Super important to check that. Actually, if you train between 10-15 hours, or probably it's always good to do at least once, probably twice a year, a blood test, just to check what's going on in your body. Maybe you change your diet, maybe something's lacking. So it doesn't cost anything mostly with insurance, and the benefits of it can be gigantic, just knowing what's going on and what you're lacking, and you're good to go. Then if you're really long outstanding problems and if you have health problems and for a long time you have seen all the doctors, one thing can really that is close to my heart, because I've had it and it took me over 2 years to figure out what it was. Heavy metal poisoning, and I now found out as well, I think 65% of the Americans that take a heavy metal test, for example, have some kind of heavy metal poisoning, and it's an ugly story. I had like aluminum and all those things through the roof, still don't really know why. Checked a lot of things. It's not the classic one that I ate tuna cans all the time. But anyways, it took me 1.5 years, 2 years to recover from that, to get the heavy metals out of my system, first out of a cell, then in the blood, and then out. It's a bit of a process. Anyways, if you have long-standing issues and the doctor and nobody can figure it out, and you feel really bad, there's no problem in doing a heavy metals test. Check it with a doc. It's gonna be worth it for sure if you feel in any way especially bad. So those are the 3 main tips I want to give you with that to handling fatigue. Now I have a little bit of extra tips for you, something that works for me really well, because triathlon endurance sport is an endurance sport. So there's the word enduring in it, and it's not just enduring physically, especially the training. It is monotonous. If you do triathlon, you know it. Even if you do short distance, there's repetitive stuff, and the repetitive stuff and the easy stuff is the stuff that makes you fast and makes you strong. So there are days when all of us are a bit bored of it, but that's part of the journey. I want to show you a few little tips that I do that really help me to get into the zone and to really jump in and out of the bubble, right? So let's say you come from work and you're in that work bubble, and like you don't want to be dragging all this work stuff, or the one that comes after work, the family part, let's say. You don't want to mix those 3 up and have like this cocktail of your monkey brain flying left and right on work task, and I gotta get milk for the wife, I gotta do this and that, and now do the interval. So you want to be in a moment. That's the key to happiness as well. And one of the tricks that helps with that is putting the phone away. Either you go completely in flight mode, but then you're not reachable, or something happens, you're not reachable. But what's even better than that, my Samsung phone has, for example, a function, I'm sure iPhone has that as well, like a mode that I can only enter certain apps. So I called it me time, it's me time. And in that I can only access like triathlon apps or my training apps, but no communication apps, no email, no social media, no YouTube, no nothing, none of that, so that I'm really forced to, I can listen to music, I have all the things I want to have. If I want to call someone when I'm like twisting my ankle running or something, I'm reachable, but nobody can really reach me or call me that isn't in my favorite list. So you can put people on the favorite list, like your wife and all those things, and they can call you if something's up. If you want to be really reachable, then that's fine. So that's the number 1, putting the phone away. Then when you're in that hour of training, erase the concept of time. What I mean by that is really erase anything except that hour that you have. So you want to be in that moment, forget what time it is, forget what you have to do after the training. None of that matters in that, let's say, 60-minute run. Forget, ignore everything. Everything that distracts you out of that training has to be eliminated if you want to reach your full potential and if you want to enjoy it the most as well. Like I said, the phone is one that distracts you, but also time can distract you. If you constantly look at the time, what time is it? Oh, I have to finish the run by that time. Ignore that, just stay in the moment. you have to decide, okay, if you're lacking time, then you have to do 45 minutes instead of 60, and that's then on you because you probably failed on planning before, most likely, because 15 minutes is mostly doable to finish that 60-minute run. Then changing location, that's a good one for training to get out of the rut. So when you have your favorite loops, and we all know it, you have probably 1, 2, 3 loops from your house that are super easy and convenient, but if you do them for 6 months in a row, they become like a treadmill, and you know what I mean. A small change could be, if you have a bike, you could bike even just 10 minutes in another direction, start running there, you'll be somewhere completely different. And if you have a car, even better, drive 10-15 minutes out, or even more if you want to, if you have nice nature around there, and have a nice fresh location for your long run, and that'd be something that really helps your motivation. Okay guys, so that's it for this week. I hope you learned something that really helped me over the years. So the mood, the metrics, and blood work, those 3 is something that's super important for you as a triathlete to get the best out of you. I hope this helped. If it helped you, I'm happy if you leave a comment below, ask a question if there's anything open still, and I catch you next week in another video. Bye guys. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. You can really help me out if you like and subscribe, push your notification bell, comment below what you want to see next, and I see you in the next video.